Greetings, brave souls. I am the Nightmare Maestro, and tonight I bring you a tale of ancient curses and modern terror. What if I told you that legends never truly die, but instead twist and evolve, haunting us in ways we least expect? Listen closely, for in the shadows of our world, an immortal being stirs. This is not a bedtime story, dear viewers, but a warning. For as you'll soon discover, some myths are better left in the past. In a long-forgotten temple deep within a misty Chinese forest, a stone statue began to crack. Weathered by centuries, its simian features slowly came to life as golden fur emerged from the fissures. The Monkey King, Sun Wukong, had awakened. But this was not the playful trickster of legend. No, dear viewers, something far more sinister had taken root during his long slumber. As the stone crumbled away, revealing more of the creature beneath, the very air seemed to grow thick with dread. Birds fell silent, and even the wind dared not whisper. The forest held its breath, sensing that an ancient evil had just been unleashed. As the last pieces of stone fell away, Sun Wukong stretched his limbs, a wicked grin spreading across his face. His eyes, once full of mischief, now gleamed with malevolence that could freeze the blood in your veins. He reached for his iconic staff, finding it transformed into a grotesque, twisted version of itself. The metal writhed like a living thing, pulsing with dark energy that seemed to devour the very light around it. With a flick of his wrist, Sun Wukong extended the staff, its end crashing through ancient trees as if they were made of paper. The forest around him withered at his touch, leaves blackening and falling like ashes. Sun Wukong bounded through the dying trees, his inhuman agility carrying him to the outskirts of a small village. As he perched on a rooftop, unseen by the inhabitants below, he observed the mundane lives unfolding before him. People hurried about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the ancient evil watching from above. A sinister chuckle escaped his lips. How things have changed, he mused, and how they will change again. His eyes darted from person to person, assessing each potential victim. "Let the game begin," he whispered, raising his staff high. Dark energy crackled around him, tendrils of corruption seeping into the very foundations of the village. In the village, 35-year-old Lai Wai awoke with a start, his body drenched in sweat. He'd dreamt of a monstrous monkey chasing him through endless corridors, its laughter echoing off walls that seemed to close in with each passing second. The nightmare had felt so real, the terror still clinging to him like a second skin. As he splashed water on his face, trying to wash away the lingering dread, he froze. There, in the mirror, a small tuft of golden fur had sprouted on his forearm. Lai Wai blinked hard, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. When he looked again, the fur was gone, leaving only smooth skin behind. As Lai Wai rushed to work at the local tech company, he noticed others in the village scratching at their skin, looking confused and frightened. A neighbor paused in watering his plants, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. A group of office workers huddled together, whispering urgently and casting fearful glances at passers-by. In the office, Lai Wai's colleague Zhen limped in, her shoes barely containing her suddenly elongated, prehensile toes. She caught Lai Wai staring and quickly tucked her feet under her desk, a look of shame and fear crossing her face. The air was thick with tension and the faint scent of bananas. Perched atop the village's tallest building, Sun Wukong observed the chaos unfolding with glee. His corrupted magic seeped into the very foundations of the town, accelerating the transformations. Every scream, every moment of confusion and terror was like sweet nectar to the twisted deity. He watched as a man stumbled out of a shop, his arms suddenly elongated to simian proportions, dragging on the ground as he ran in panic. A woman nearby fell to her knees, clutching her head as a coat of golden fur rippled across her skin, only to vanish moments later. The air was filled with a cacophony of human cries and monkey screeches, a discordant symphony of transformation and fear. As night fell, a cloaked figure arrived at the village outskirts. Tang Sanzang, the monk who once led Sun Wukong on their legendary journey west, had sensed the disturbance. But centuries had changed him too. No longer the naive holy man of legend, Tang Sanzang was now a powerful sorcerer, his eyes gleaming with arcane knowledge and barely contained power. He surveyed the village, taking in the chaos and transformation with a grim expression. "Oh, Wukong," he murmured, "what have you become?" The air around him crackled with energy as he began to chant, ancient words of power forming a protective barrier around himself. Tang Sanzang knew he had to act quickly. The corruption was spreading rapidly, and soon it would be beyond even his considerable abilities to contain. Lai Wai, now sporting patches of fur and elongated limbs, stumbled into the village square. Other partially transformed villagers gathered, their humanity slipping away with each passing moment. The air was thick with fear and the acrid smell of transformation. Families clung to each other, some members more monkey than human, others fighting against the change with every fiber of their being. Into this scene of chaos stepped Tang Sanzang, his eyes glowing with arcane power. The crowd parted before him, a mix of awe and terror on their twisted faces. "I can help you," he intoned, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that seemed to still the very air. "But the price will be steep." With a thunderous crash, Sun Wukong landed in the square, his twisted staff crackling with dark energy. The ground beneath his feet blackened and cracked, tendrils of corruption spreading outward like a malevolent web. The villagers scattered in terror, their screams a mixture of human fear and Simian shrieks. "My old master," Sun Wukong sneered at Tang Sanzang, his voice a guttural growl that seemed to come from the depths of hell itself. "Still meddling in affairs beyond your understanding." He twirled his staff, leaving trails of darkness in the air. "Have you come to join my new kingdom? I could use a court jester." Tang Sanzang began to chant, his voice rising in an otherworldly cadence. Golden light erupted from his hands, forming intricate patterns in the air. The symbols swirled and pulsed, each one a word of power from some long-forgotten language. As the chant reached a crescendo, beams of purifying energy shot towards Sun Wukong. The corrupted monkey king laughed, a sound that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. With a wave of his staff, he countered with a barrage of shadow clones, each one a perfect replica of himself, all cackling maniacally. The clones swarmed Tang Sanzang, their dark energy clashing violently with his golden light. As the battle raged, Sun Wukong revealed his true plan, his voice booming over the chaos. "This world has forgotten us," he snarled, deflecting another of Tang Sanzang's attacks. "The old gods, the old ways all relegated to myth and legend. We'll remind them of our power, one transformed soul at a time." Tang Sanzang, realizing the full scope of the threat, turned to the terrified villagers. His eyes, filled with ancient sorrow, swept over the crowd. "I can save you," he said grimly, "but one must willingly sacrifice their humanity to contain Sun Wukong's essence, a vessel to imprison his corrupted spirit." Lai Wai stepped forward, his partially transformed body trembling. He looked at Mei, tears streaming down his fur-covered cheeks. "I'll do it," he said, his voice a mix of human words and simian grunts. "For Mei, for all of us, I volunteer." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mei reached out for Lai Wai, her elongated arms grasping at him. "No," she screeched, the sound more monkey than human. "Please, no." But Lai Wai's mind was made up. He turned to Tang Sanzang, straightening his hunched back as much as he could. "What must I do?" he asked, a quiet determination in his eyes. Golden light enveloped Lai Wai as Tang Sanzang's spell took hold. Sun Wukong's attacks bounced off an invisible barrier, each strike sending ripples of energy through the air. The corrupted Monkey King's howls of rage were deafening, shaking the very foundations of the village. Lai Wai felt his body changing rapidly, but this time directed by the sorcerer's magic. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced, simultaneously agonizing and exhilarating. He could feel the essence of Sun Wukong, dark and twisted, being drawn into him. Memories not his own flashed through his mind. Centuries of adventures, battles, and finally, a long, maddening imprisonment. As the golden light dissipated, a figure stood where Lai Wai had been, but he was Lai Wai no longer. In his place was a being that radiated with protective energy, a perfect blend of human consciousness and divine power. His body was covered in shimmering golden fur, and a circlet of light adorned his head. In his hand, he held a staff made of pure light. Sun Wukong recoiled, recognizing the power that now rivaled his own. "Impossible," he snarled, his confidence shaken for the first time. The new guardian Lai Wai transformed stood tall, his eyes filled with determination and a wisdom beyond mortal years. Lai Wai and Sun Wukong clashed in the air above the village, their staffs sending shockwaves with each impact. Golden light battled against corrupted darkness, the very sky seeming to tear apart with the force of their conflict. The villagers watched in awe and terror as two godlike beings fought for supremacy. Sun Wukong's attacks were relentless, each blow fueled by centuries of pent-up rage and bitterness. "You think you can match me, mortal?" he taunted, his voice a mix of hatred and grudging respect. "I've lived 1,000 lifetimes." But Lai Wai held his ground, drawing on both his human determination and his newly acquired divine power. As they fought, Lai Wai realized that unlike Sun Wukong, he retained his human memories and emotions. While the corrupted Monkey King fought with raw power and millennia of combat experience, Lai Wai had something else, a connection to the world and people he was fighting to protect. He thought of Mei, of their life together, of all that was at stake. He remembered the faces of his neighbors, the laughter of children in the village square, the simple joys of human existence. This connection to humanity became his strength, each memory fueling his resolve. With renewed determination, Lai Wai's attacks became more focused, more purposeful. His blows, empowered by love and sacrifice, began to drive the corrupted deity back. Realizing he was being outmatched, Sun Wukong's eyes darted wildly, searching for an advantage. Suddenly, a wicked grin spread across his face. He began to chant, dark energy swirling around him in a vortex of malevolent power. Tang Sanzang's eyes widened in recognition. "No," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the howling winds. "He's trying to unseal his full power. If he succeeds, nothing will be able to stop him." The corrupted Monkey King's form began to grow, his already impressive stature swelling to titanic proportions. The sky darkened further, as if the very heavens were cowering from the unleashed evil below. In that crucial moment, as Sun Wukong's power threatened to overwhelm everything, Lai Wai accessed the ancestral memories now flowing through him. Flashes of the original journey to the west played out in his mind, not just the stories he knew, but the real experiences of Sun Wukong himself. He saw the Monkey King's birth from stone, his tutelage under a Taoist master, his brash challenge to the Jade Emperor. But more importantly, he witnessed the bonds forged during the journey west, the friendship, the growth, the lessons learned about humility and compassion. With sudden clarity, Lai Wai knew what he had to do. This wasn't a battle that could be won with force alone. Lai Wai made his decision. As Sun Wukong reached the peak of his transformation, Lai Wai didn't attack. Instead, he dropped his defensive stance and opened his arms wide. "Wukong," he called out, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Remember who you were. Remember the journey." Confusion flashed across Sun Wukong's face, his giant form hesitating mid-strike. Lai Wai pressed on, projecting memories of their shared past, the trials they faced, the bonds they formed, the lessons learned. "We'll finish the journey," Lai Wai declared, his body starting to glow with an intense light. "And remember what it truly means. He flew towards Sun Wukong, not to attack, but to embrace. As they collided, a blinding flash erupted, and a shimmering portal opened beneath them. As dawn broke, the villagers gathered in the square, human once more but forever changed by their ordeal. The physical transformations had been reversed, but the memory of what they'd endured and the sacrifice that saved them would remain etched in their minds forever. Cleanup efforts began, people working together to repair the damage caused by the supernatural battle. But amidst the rubble and destruction, something miraculous was happening. Where drops of Laiwai's transformed blood had fallen, plants sprouted at an accelerated rate. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors, their petals shimmering with an otherworldly light. Tang Sanzang prepared to depart, his task complete for now. As he made his way through the village, people approached him, hungry for answers about what had happened and what it all meant. News of the incident spreads like wildfire, defying all attempts at containment. Blurry videos and wild speculation flood the internet, showing glimpses of the battle and the strange transformations that afflicted the villagers. Governments scrambled to explain the inexplicable, their official statements ringing hollow in the face of the extraordinary evidence. Whispers of ancient powers returning send shockwaves through hidden mystical communities around the globe. Long dormant covens reawaken, dusty tomes are consulted, and ageless beings stir from their slumber. The veil between myth and reality has been torn, and the world will never be the same. In the village, life attempts to return to normal, but an undercurrent of change is palpable. People speak in hushed tones about their experiences, forming support groups to cope with the trauma and the lingering effects of their brief transformations. Some report strange dreams, flashes of memory from lives not their own, as if Laiwai's sacrifice left an imprint on their very souls. May tends to the small peach tree that sprouted where Laiwai vanished, its branches already heavy with fruit despite the impossibility of its growth. The peaches emit a faint golden glow, and those who eat them speak of vivid dreams, glimpses of fantastic realms, and two figures locked in an eternal journey of redemption. Pilgrims and seekers begin to flock to the village, drawn by rumors of miracles and transformation. The once quiet town becomes a nexus of spiritual energy, a place where the boundary between the mundane and the divine has grown thin. But with this new attention comes danger, as forces both human and otherworldly seek to harness the power unleashed by Sun Wukong's awakening and Laiwai's sacrifice. And so, dear viewers, our tale comes to an end. Or does it? For legends have a way of living on, evolving, haunting us in ways we least expect. The story of Laiwai and Sun Wukong, of sacrifice and redemption, of humanity's strength in the face of ancient evil, will echo through time. Sleep well tonight, if you can. But remember, every myth has its basis in truth, and some truths are better left undiscovered. Until our paths cross again, this is the Nightmare Maestro, bidding you sweet dreams. If you dare to sleep at all, if this chilling tale has left you hungry for more, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the depths of legend and nightmare.